what's interesting is that an Ethereum ETF could even be more compelling for a lot of investors than a Bitcoin ETF. It's more like holding Apple stock or something like that, because you get that dividend payment and massive exposure to massive innovation right across the crypto space.
Is Solana more likely to succeed than Cardano? What do you think?
Ooh, spicy. Spicy. It's a controversial question. I love it. A few things that I've been looking at allocating to. One of the big ones recently, I built a big position in.
Do you think Ethereum will outperform Bitcoin this coming cycle?
Yeah, 100%. As it has in previous cycles. Now, there will be a time, especially when Bitcoin ETFs get approved, that everybody will say, it's only Bitcoin, baby, nothing else. Bitcoin maximalists will come crawling out of the woodwork. Everyone's wrong. Ethereum's going to go to zero, blah, 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 all the stuff we've heard before. There are times and seasons for different assets, and there will be a Bitcoin ETF, and it'll pump Bitcoin like crazy. Bitcoin dominance will rally super hard. All the money will chase after that. And then Ethereum ETFs will be approved. Spot ETFs, not futures ETFs. Futures ETFs are garbage. Spot ETFs are the real deal. And then Ethereum will be the new paradigm of money. And then the market will start taking off more broadly. But I just think that you have to look at the reality that Ethereum will outperform Bitcoin on a total percentage basis. So if you were to invest $10,000 in Bitcoin and $10,000 into Ethereum, the Ethereum, I believe, will give you higher gains by the end of the cycle. Now, how much higher gains? It's probably not going to be super significant. It's not like Ethereum is going to 50x and Bitcoin's only going to 5x. It's more like Bitcoin will 5x and Ethereum will 7x. Something like that. So we'll outperform, but it's not going to be super dramatic outperformance. So that's something I need to highlight here. But there's so many things working in the favor of Ethereum outperformance. Bitcoin's got the Bitcoin ETFs. Bitcoin has the halving, all very exciting. Ethereum has ultrasound money, massive deflation, huge amounts of Ethereum being locked up in the staking contract. It's like 28 million coins right now. It's an over 2-year wait to get out of the staking contract. So that's a massive supply lock. Demand rising all the time for Ethereum layer 2 networks, which is sucking more ETH off of exchanges. Ethereum exchange balances at a 5-year low, down well over 50% in the last couple of years, down to about 14 million coins. So there's now twice as many coins in the staking contract, which are locked up for like, a long time to get out of that execute versus what's on exchanges. So Ethereum's got the moon math behind it without a doubt, plus more use cases, obviously, than Bitcoin.
Yeah, dude, I know what you're saying, dude. Before we talk more about the Ethereum ETF, let's just, Bitcoin ETF is coming. That seems very likely. Perhaps by the time somebody's watching this video in the future, it's already happened. So could you just, like, for people who don't understand how big a deal a spot Bitcoin ETF would be, a BlackRock ETF, like, can you just explain why that is a big deal?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of money on the sidelines right now of the cryptocurrency industry that does not want to buy coins directly. They don't want to buy a coin. They don't want to put it on their ledger. They want to be able to buy a regulated product from their brokerage account, put it into their IRA or whatever it might be. There's a lot of funds out there that want to take spot Bitcoin and put it into their ETF funds and stuff like that, diversified baskets of different assets. There's so much money that can come into the market once we have clear regulation and we have a clear regulated product, which is the Bitcoin ETF. Now, we've seen Bitcoin ETFs be very popular in overseas markets. Canada's Bitcoin ETF, when it came, I think we saw about 30, 40,000 Bitcoin sucked up off the markets. Canada only accounts for 2% of global equity markets. A US Bitcoin ETF is massive because the United States stock market accounts for between 50 and 54%, depending on the day, of total equity markets globally. So seeing a Bitcoin ETF approved there, it's been estimated to bring between 20 to $30 billion of buy-side pressure as all these funds race to buy up Bitcoin to put into their Bitcoin ETF products, which sucks more Bitcoin off of spot exchanges. We're talking a few 100,000 Bitcoin at least, potentially more. $30 billion at the current price buys about half of all the Bitcoin currently sitting on exchanges. And of course, you can't just buy half all Bitcoin currently sitting on exchanges without seeing the price spike up massively. And half that Bitcoin sitting on exchanges may not even be for sale. It might be just sitting there because people are too lazy to take it off Coinbase or whatever. So they're storing it there. So the potential here is absolutely massive. people want a regulated product. People have been asking for a regulated product for a long time, and the SEC has not been protecting investors by refusing to give them a regulated product. Forcing them into, shady offshore exchanges and all this stuff has not been a great strategy to protect American investors.
And then after BlackRock Bitcoin spot ETF, how likely do you think an BlackRock Ethereum spot ETF would be?
I think it's almost guaranteed that it'll come probably within a few months after the Bitcoin ETF launches. We saw that in Canada. First, Canada got their Bitcoin ETFs approved. We saw a few different Bitcoin ETF filings. They were all approved in a very short amount of time. They all came out in a short amount of time of each other. And then about a month later, approximately, maybe 6 weeks later, we got an Ethereum spot ETF. Now, what will be really interesting is if we see Ethereum spot ETFs come out, which I am very certain that they will after we get a Bitcoin ETF approval. The SEC has, of course, been getting their butt kicked all over town. But one thing that they basically have admitted is that Ethereum is not a security, even though they don't necessarily always want to say that. There's, of course, the famous scene of Gary Gensler being asked about it, going, but I think we'll see an Ethereum ETF. And what's interesting is that an Ethereum ETF could even be more compelling for a lot of investors than a Bitcoin ETF, because the Bitcoin ETF is like holding a gold ETF, which is cool. An Ethereum ETF is like, exactly, it's more like holding Apple stock or something like that, because you get that dividend payment and massive exposure to massive innovation right across the crypto space. If you're bullish on layer 2s, if you're bullish on NFTs, if you're bullish on stablecoin payments, if you're bullish on crypto gaming, if you're bullish on any of that stuff, you buy an Ethereum ETF because that's going to give you exposure to all of it, plus a dividend yield.
How likely do you think it is that Ethereum hits 10K? Is that like just somebody's imagination, or you think that's likely?
I think it's relatively likely this time, especially if we go from a market cap, last time we had 3 trillion, if we go to a market cap of like $6 trillion, so just double the previous one. So last cycle, in 2017, we got around $1 trillion. In 2021, we got up to 3 trillion. Let's assume diminishing returns, we only go double next time, and it's up to $6 trillion. That has an outsized effect on the price of assets. And we're talking about peak market prices here, right? Not to say that Ethereum is going to go up to 10K and just stay there forever. Ethereum might be, if it gets to 10K, it might go even beyond that at the peak price. You might see 12, 13, 14K, for example, as a peak market price. Not crazy, especially if we assume that Ethereum will slightly outperform Bitcoin, right? So if Bitcoin goes to 150K, which I think that it can, that's approximately a 6x from here. So if Ethereum goes 6x or slightly more, 8x, what are we looking at? We're looking at 13, 14K price tag. Again, peak prices, right? So we're talking about peak market prices. The prices might only be there for a few hours, a few days, maybe a week or two before, of course, we see corrections come into the market. So you got to remember that these big price tag prediction numbers, they sound super exciting, but almost nobody will sell at that point. And we'll run out of buyers at that point because the price starts getting too high, all this kind of stuff. So you don't have to sell at the peak, right? Look for other indicators besides, some influencer or content creator or whoever else, media giving you price predictions. Look for the market factors to sell versus an arbitrary number.
Let's talk about some alts. Is Solana more likely to succeed than Cardano? What do you think?
Ooh, spicy. It's a controversial question. I love it. Cardano has been this absolute slow burn for years. And, I sold my Cardano a couple years ago. Great profits, like 50x profits. Can't complain about that, right? But I feel like they've been almost too slow in the market. We've seen, for example, I know it's really exciting. We've seen 300% total value locked growth on Cardano this year. And that's a great sounding metric until you realize you went from like 50 million to 200 million. Comparatively, Coinbase's base is probably well over that by now. I haven't looked at their TVL recently, but I guarantee it's going to be higher than Cardano, which has been around for such a long time. So there's a very strong community for Cardano. And of course, I hope ADA rocks it out and all Cardano holders make truckloads of money. I'm not hating on Cardano here. I'm just looking at the realities of the slow innovation and the slow TVL growth and all that stuff versus Solana, which has massive scalability right now. And I know Cardano's Hydra is going to bring in big scalability as well. Can't ignore that factor. That could be a game-changing moment for Cardano, right? Not counting Cardano out by any means. But I feel like there's a lot more critical mass forming up behind Solana right now. And I don't own either coin, by the way. I mean, I don't know, I probably got like $5 of Cardano sitting on my Yoroi wallet, and I probably have like $50 of Solana sitting on my Phantom wallet just so I can use those chains when I want to do something there, because I do play with them from time to time. But the thing is that Solana has been getting the partnerships. Solana has been getting the hype, and hype and partnerships and narrative are a lot of what drives markets. So that Shopify announcement the other day for Solana was really big news. Really big news. That could bring in millions of new users to the Solana network, which Cardano couldn't even handle millions of new users right now without a robust Hydra upgrade.
10% of all global e-commerce goes through Shopify, and Solana pays integration. That is a huge deal.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about other altcoins that you like. Just what other altcoins do you like, Lark?
Yeah, absolutely. So a few things that I've been looking at allocating to. One of the big ones recently, I built a big position in Chainlink. I think the recent CCIP upgrade, the recent CCIP upgrade, I just looked at it as, Chainlink, for me, it feels like a safe play. And hey, I can't tell you guys what to do with your money, not financial advice, of course, but I've been building big Chainlink positions. I feel like, look, that feels like an easy 10x, at least in the next cycle, maybe a bit more, as the hype builds up behind it. And I like what I feel like could be an easy play. The technology's there. I mean, when you look at Chainlink, it's being used so broadly across the entire cryptocurrency ecosystem. Basically, every blockchain, every decentralized exchange is integrating Chainlink technology. The CCIP upgrade making really the ability for assets to move from one place to another absolutely massive. We see huge banks already testing that. We've seen banks in Australia testing out Forex stablecoin transfers across chains. Like, people are paying attention to what Chainlink's been doing, and I feel like that gives it the potential to have a significant price rally from the current prices as we go into the next cycle. Is it going to 100x? No, I'm looking at like a 10 to 20x maybe, right? But I feel like it's a safer play. And the other thing would be the layer 2 thesis. Now, there's a lot of layer 2s launching. Which one's going to be the winner? I don't know. But I think we're going to see a lot of layer 2s, the ones that can capture value, taking off in the coming cycle. So I've been buying like Arbitrum, for example. And it's, Arbitrum right now, everyone's chasing the shiny new thing, which is Coinbase, and then it's going to be Starknet, and all the other chains as they come out and the new tokens come out. But I think Arbitrum has been an early leader in the layer 2 space. So I've got a big position in that as well.
My final question is general. Any other hot takes you have in the altcoin space? You've been here for years. You've seen cycles, narratives come and go. Any current hot takes that, maybe you want to talk about, but not sure if it's good to bring up?
The first thing that comes to mind is take your profits or the market will take them for you. Always remember that, guys. But I think right now we've seen a lot of great narratives forming up. We're going to see a lot of new narratives forming up, and we're going to see a lot of narratives come back. And this is the thing that people maybe don't always realize, like gaming, for example. I love gaming. I don't play games, but I see that people love playing games, and games that are coming out in the near future are looking beautiful. Nice new games, better tokenomics. We learned a lot of the mistakes from the past. We will see a large repeat of, just like we had a meme coin season earlier this year. We've had multiple meme coin seasons in crypto. We're going to have multiple gaming seasons in crypto. As whenever one new project, for whatever reason, they're going to be the one, it's going to take off, and it's going to drag the entire sector up with it for a short amount of time. We're going to see metaverse come back. We're going to see, the layer 1 trade come back, all this stuff. So be ready for those narratives, right? And be paying attention, because you often hear about the earliest whispers of these narratives on X or other social media. And then things start moving pretty fast. You usually have a couple weeks to get yourself positioned before everybody's talking about it. When everyone's talking about it, that's when you don't buy. That's when you, of course, sell because you got in early, right? But narratives will repeat in the market. I think that's probably one of the things I wanted to highlight for people, that watch out for narratives to repeat. And if you have some underwater bags of what you think are fundamentally strong coins from narratives that's not trending right now, there's hope in the future.
I love it. Appreciate you coming on, keeping it real, giving us the alpha. Give yourself a plug. Where can our audience find you, and just general final thoughts for the Altcoin Daily audience?
Yeah, come and find me over on YouTube or on X, both under the Lark Davis name. And yeah, I hope you all make truckloads of money in the coming cycle. If you're here now, if you're listening to this conversation, then you are ahead of the curve. You are early in the cycle. So be ready. And I hope that you get rich as heck.
Boom.